Thank you. Great to see lots of familiar faces here. And I was listening to what Amira said, and we have all been inundated, I'm sure, this morning with Happy Women's Day and wonderfully sappy messages and so on and so forth. And I just wish them back and say, same to you. Little Crow. She's a female artist. I like how she sings. I love the way she belts out those rock numbers in that husky voice of hers, right? And I'll just say one piece of it, not the whole piece, of course. It goes as follows. Every day is a winding road. I get a little bit closer. Every day is a faded sign. I get a little bit closer, feeling fine. I think that's important. So much of the life, our life, is the journey. It's not the destination. I mean, just think about it. Few people travel by long distance train anymore, but if you really think about it, every station, every way station, every milestone in our life is definitionally short-lived. We spend so much more time on the journey, on the travel. One of my mottos is enjoy the journey. You've got to have a good time on the journey. The milestone will happen, may not happen. It may be 3 minutes long, it may be 5 minutes long, but it'll be momentary. Part of the journey is who you're traveling with. So important to have great co-travelers with you. Sometimes you choose them, sometimes they just come into the train bogie, they sit next to you, they get off at some other station. But while you're together, you have a great time, you may share your food, you may share some thoughts, you may exchange books. And I'm revealing now how old I am, having done long train journeys, which very few people do anymore. So enjoy the journey. It is a winding road. Feel fine every day. Go to bed happy, because happiness is also a choice. And part of happiness is your co-passengers, your travelers. Surround yourself with positive people. Ignore the naysayers, but not completely, because sometimes the naysayers are giving you feedback which maybe your friends and people who care about you are not giving you. Right? And I take negative feedback not to heart, but I take it very seriously. And if someone's giving me critical feedback, I actually say thank you. Because lots of folks tell me happy things which make me feel wonderful. But again, how does that change me? It reinforces what I'm already doing. It doesn't give me new ideas on what I should stop doing or do more of, or just do if I'm not doing it, right? So on that note, I know we're going to talk about scaling up, but part of scaling up is your personal journey as an entrepreneur. Most times, enterprises don't scale because the entrepreneur doesn't scale. So this is as much about you at the center of that circle of enterprise growth and anything else. Well, hello there. So I will put away my phone now. Thank you. I promise I was not checking email at WhatsApp. I was looking at the song. Scaling up. Someone mentioned you want to continue to be an individual contributor, which is fine as well. You still have to scale up as a person. To be the best marketing consultant out there, to be recognized as such, you have to continuously upgrade your skills. You have to market yourself. You have to create an ecosystem around you. You have to develop business. So there are lots of skills, ecosystem, and many other parts of managing your business, including finance, which you will need to develop. So ultimately, everything scales or it withers away. I'm the mother of 2 teenagers. They are sprouting like beanstalks right now. So you cannot think about something not growing. If you don't grow, what is absence of growth, lack of growth is eventual stagnation. Nobody wants to really be a bonsai plant, including the bonsai plant. I'm sure when the bonsai plant was a little baby and a seedling, he was dreaming of being this mighty oak. But it's a bonsai plant. So I'm not sure anyone here wants to be a bonsai plant. Scaling up, let's say you've started a business, you've got revenue, you're starting to make some money, you're starting to get employees, you're starting to build infrastructure. What happens next? Typically, most organizations go through this whole phase of growth. There are 4 pillars that you need to think about. And for those of you who have heard me say this before, I apologize, but my 4 pillars haven't changed. They're still the same. First pillar is strategy. And this is not big, glorious McKinsey, BCG, Bain strategy. It's actually very nuts and bolts. What's your business model? Be very clear in your mind. What's your customer? Because customer most businesses are customer facing, right? Somebody is buying what you're selling. So who's your customer? What's the purpose of your business? Why do you exist? You exist for your customer, you're fulfilling a need. And hence, what should be your business model to serve that need well in a way that makes you commercially sustainable? Because unless you're doing not-for-profit work, which has a different purpose, if you're not commercially viable, you will not survive. Forget scale, you will not survive. So, what's the business model? How do you get your revenue? What are your costs? How are you making profit? Profit is good. We've all been raised in a somewhat socialist country, but trust me, profit is really good. Profit is good because you make money, you get an income, you feel good. You spend it, you contribute to the consumption economy. You can hire more people if you're profitable. You pay their salaries, they have a livelihood. You invest in your business, you scale. Very important to be profitable. If you're not profitable today, you must know, and lots of high growth businesses in the new sort of tech economy, the entrepreneurial economy, you may not be profitable for a period of time, which is okay, as long as you know when and how you're going to make money. Business model, business strategy, go to market. And still in the first pillar, this is my product or this is my service, that is my market and customer. How am I going to access them? If you're a retailer, you know you have channels, you have online, you have offline, you have shops, you have distributors. If you're a service company, how are you going to do B2B sales? What's your sales approach? How are you going to do key account management? Are you going to do endorsements and referrals, or will you have an army of salespeople? Will they be on fixed comp? Will they be on incentives? All of that, what is your go-to market? Very, very important. And focus. So typically a business starts and you say, I need to get revenue. Right? So you say, I can get it from here, I can have product A, service B, product C. And sometimes you end up with a proliferation of things that you're doing that as you start scaling are actually not additive, but they subtract from creating real value and real differentiation and real sustainability. So sometimes you must go through this pruning of your, what do I stand for, what's my product portfolio? And so it can be, I'm doing 8 things. And I'm making up a number, right? My 100 of revenue is coming from these 8 products. But please think through, which of these products is actually, what is the margin? Which is accretive, which is not accretive? High margin, low margin. What is the cost of actually providing that? And maybe you don't need to do 8, you actually need to do 3. And do them really well. Focus not just on your product, but your customer segments. You don't need to be everything for everybody. First pillar still, business strategy, business model, go-to market, and building sales, revenue, profit capability. Second pillar, how are you going to do all of that? For that, you need to create institutionalized systems and processes to scale. I hear so many times from very successful companies that are growing rapidly saying, but that process and all is something, GE needs to do, Unilever needs to do. But if you have an ambition to be a Marico one day or a Unilever one day, this does not happen by accident and by ad hoc processes. You have to create processes that scale and systems that scale. You talk to Amira, she'll tell you, I'm sure as you went through the journey of 10 million to a billion, there was a time when you said old processes don't work. You have to reinvent, you have to scale. What does that mean? Again, not rocket science stuff. It's not even big data yet. I'm talking about, again, nuts and bolts. What's your finance process? Your accounting process? Are you doing internal audit? Even if you're an individual consultant, you should keep your books meticulously. So F&A, finance and accounting. Data, MIS, basic MIS to support your decision making. If you don't know what you're selling, how much you're earning, how much you're spending, how will you know where you're getting your profit from, right? So F&A, MIS, people. As you grow, you will hire people. You need to think about different types of people, what are the performance metrics, how are you going to incentivize them. So all of that, and all of this is really the boring stuff. As entrepreneurs, we all enjoy thinking about growth and new ideas and innovation. This is the boring stuff. So here's a suggestion for you. If you don't like this stuff, Or you accept I'm not good at it, then get someone to help you. You may not need a full-time CFO, but get a part-time CFO. But get somebody to help you do your systems and processes well. Third pillar, people. Need to create the right organization. Need to have the best person you can hire for the job. If you can't pay them right now, you don't have enough cash flow, think about sharing equity. Think about sharing ownership. Think about how else you can incentivize them. Be quite relentless actually, and people are good at different things. Some people are great at developing business. I find some of the best entrepreneurs are just relentless recruiters. And as their businesses are growing, they're continuously talking to people and seeing if I spot a good person, I'll pull them in, I'll figure out what to do with them later. Now you may not always have the luxury of having a business large enough to accommodate that, but that's the goal. Find a good person, grab them. Best entrepreneurs I know are relentless recruiters, constantly finding good people. But more systematically, having an org structure that faces off against your business strategy. You need finance, you need marketing, you need HR, but you also need sales. You also need geographic coverage over a period of time. Then you create hierarchical structures inside your company. You've got to layer yourself. You can't manage everybody and everything. That comes a little bit later in the journey, but important to be thinking about it. And finally, capital. You cannot grow business without capital. And capital is generally three types. In the impact ecosystem, where I also spend a fair amount of time, in the impact ecosystem, there's something called grant capital, right, which is not returnable. It's given to you by a development finance institution, you start your business with it, you can invest in yourself and grow and so on and so forth, but you don't have to return it. That is a luxury. In the commercial ecosystem, no one's giving you free money. So it's either equity for enterprise creation or it's debt for working capital and scaling up. So keeping an eye on when you need how much. So again, that goes back to planning. Remember the second pillar? Data, forecasting, F&A. Think about when will I need money and what will I use it for? What is my source? What is my use? Raise as much as you need, not as much as somebody is willing to give you unnecessarily. And more companies die from indigestion than starvation. Sometimes you actually make better decisions when you are in a slightly resource-constrained environment. So the fourth pillar is capital, and it takes a lot of the entrepreneur's time and bandwidth to raise money, particularly equity money. And Amira, you've raised 2 rounds, God bless you. 3, actually, yes, 3, and debt, so absolutely. I'm on the other side now, so I think about, when I talk to my entrepreneurs and say, please don't be constantly fundraising, it is exhausting, it will sap your energy, you should spend your, as an investor, I want you to spend your time building your business, not raising money. So I'll pause there. 4 pillars, very important. What's the foundation? So if you think about a house, got 4 pillars, what's your foundation? Your foundation is you. Invest in yourself, take time for yourself. It sounds really hard when you're doing 14, 16-hour days, but do take some time for reflection. And whatever gives you relaxation. It could be sport, it could be reading, it could be movies. For me, my best recharge, and my kids think I absolutely sort of exploit them, but my best recharge is going and grabbing one of them and saying, just talk to me. And it's wonderful, right? I get my recharge, I get my refresh. It's a different perspective from someone I know who cares deeply, and we are not talking business. So it could be anything. It's a lot of times for me, it's watching a movie. I watch something or read something every day. It may not be terribly intellectual, but it's when my brain shuts off. So I veg. So I confess, I admit, I veg. You figure out what works for you. For some people, it's painting, it's music, it's dancing, it's sports, whatever it is. A lot of my friends are runners. They're marathoners, they're runners, they're serious athletes. And the runners say that when they are running, they actually get into a meditative zone. I envy them. I can't do that. So, but figure out what works for you. It could even be meditation and yoga. So I'll pause and say if there are questions, we should make it very interactive. I'm sure there are lots of stories in the room that we can share with each other.
it was really interesting, all the 4 points that you mentioned here. But so I'm a graphic designer, basically creative. I mean, I function. My soul is alive because of the creative side of me. So there's always a struggle between, being the business person who has to handle various things which are not fun, and then the creative side who wants to sit and create and express, work through creativity for all the brands and things that I handle. So how does one balance that? Because you can't do everything, as you mentioned earlier.
So I think you just need to get help. Seriously, you just need to get help. There are lots of people who are outsourced CAs who will do your bookkeeping and so on. And frankly, I'm sure if you network around this room more than... Are you an ASCENT member?
Not yet. No.
Well, not yet. So can I make a plug? If you were an ASCENT member, you would have access to all the other 350 members in ASCENT. Who knows, one of them might be able to help.
Sure.
If not, again, shamelessly plugging for ASCENT, but if you're not and you don't become a member, but there are lots of outsourced CA firms, you need to invest some time up front in setting up your books. Then that should become a fairly sort of auto process. I find for creative people, the two things that are difficult. One is business development and sales, because they're just not wired that way. And it does take time away from doing what you want to do and what is actually going to generate value. And the second thing is this sort of mundane bookkeeping and accounting and the financial part of business management.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Rashmi Gajra. Today actually happens to be the 4th year of the existence of my business, which is called Anmol Baby. We're the first company to make certified and tested baby carriers, and I'm an architect by profession, and I got into making baby carriers because I realized as a mom there was a dearth of good baby wearing options available to me that were comfortable. Like she just spoke about being a design person, I am a design person as well. I've reached a point where I've realized that in terms of doing what I do best, which is being creative and making baby carriers which are good looking, which are functional, ergonomic, and also creating a community for women so that they can support each other and help each other to baby wear well, mother well, be each other's 3 a.m. buddies when, the baby wakes up in the middle of the night crying, etc. So I've managed to really create, I feel, a difference and a support ecosystem for the customers or the women who I have engaged with and sold my baby carriers to. I am at that point where to scale up will require me to understand how my business needs to take shape. I don't understand, like you said, get help for your finances, get help for other things. But most of what I have created now has been from the money that I have made as an architect, which I had to say goodbye to so that I could focus on making this business happen. The fear that I have is, this is new, like 4 years back there were no great baby carriers available in this country. I know that I have created a market which now has Amazon selling many, many baby carriers as opposed to 4 years back when there were none available. So how do we address that in our own heads, like in terms of our own confidence building? Because this is a market which is not really tapped in India. And women who are not really clued into this kind of caregiving for their own children, if they can afford my baby carriers, they can also afford a nanny. So, getting help and, creating the right strategy is like a big question mark in my head, and trying to figure out who is the right kind of mentor for me, because it's unexplored and it's not the regular run-of-the-mill thing that I'm doing right now. Sorry, this is really long, but I needed to give you a background so that you are aware of what I'm trying to say.
Actually, a great example. So even though it was a little long,
yes,
be respectful of everybody else's time. Great example. I think question, and this will take a much longer session. I'm sure someone can help you. Find somebody to help. But really go back and think, what need are you serving? Is there a genuine problem in the market? Is there a gap in the market that you are filling, that you are helping with? And if not, then you really need to think about your business. So I can see a lot of shades in what you just described. If Amazon is selling 4 other products, then how is yours unique? And if Amazon is selling 4 other products, then somebody is buying, so the market exists. Maybe you're at a different price point, maybe it's too high. So the people who can afford your carrier can also get a nanny. Sometimes people can afford a nanny, but it's a lifestyle choice. They want to take their baby around with them. So actually a lot of deep thinking, and this is pillar 1, strategy. Who's the customer? What's the market need? What's the size of market? Is your product something that you like, in which case you're a customer of 1? Or is it a product that will serve the needs of many, many people, in which case understand those needs? By the way, this framework applies to any product. You could be in cosmetics, you could be in personal care, you could be in home care, you can be in apparel, anything. But is there a large enough market for you to create a viable, scalable business? And sometimes people choose to create products and services which are not scalable, and that's absolutely legitimate, as long as you are clear that this is going to be a very interesting, niche, high-value, boutique business versus a scaled business, and it makes you happy. Ultimately, you have to feel fulfilled that you are doing something meaningful. Yeah?
You should take questions in there.
Yeah, I think.
Can I ask one last question, please?
Oh, one last.
Yes, and short one. I'm Zarina. I'm a life coach and a business mentor myself. I've been in the business for 13 years. I have a lot of CEOs and individuals with me. My question is, I've heard both our speakers today extremely inspirational, telling us we need to spend that 1 hour on ourselves. So I do come across many such cases myself, and that's my recommendation as well. So my question is basically, what is that time that you prefer, that 1 hour coming to you? Is it the first half, the second half, the last part of your day? I know for you it's your children, so you also have to make sure you can grab them at some point. But how do you manage that 1 hour in the 24 hours that you have?
Can I also just butt into the same question that she has put across to you? Hi, I'm Monisha, and I'm into recruitment. So you said that, people are all the time looking out. So just like her, even I also have this, wherein a woman is a multifaceted personality today, I feel. We have the house, we have the relatives, our other social commitments, we have our business on the other side, there is enough tough competition, there is one side, the other technology, which is eating up the market. If you're not up to date, you're lost into the crowd. So, like she said just now, what is that good time? Where do we get that good time? And how do we get this nirvana for ourselves?
So, I'm not sure there is a formula. By the way, your next panel has some incredibly inspiring women as well with their stories. And I was going to talk a little bit about my travel, and then I kind of saw Chetna sitting there. I said, how can I even? Because the way she crisscrossed, and spends a lot of time on travel anyway. So I'm not sure there is a formula. You have to find your own answer. Right now it is my kids, because I have great conversations with them. And I tell them this, that when they were little babies, they weren't quite as interesting, honestly. I mean, I loved them, and I love them always, but they weren't quite as interesting. I take a lot of downtime. I love long flights. Get on a plane, watch a movie, get some sleep, no one's calling. I typically don't work on flights. I'll do a little bit of work, but if it's a 14, 15-hour flight, I'm not working all the time. So grab your downtime when you can. I don't have a fixed 1 hour. It's seldom in the morning for me. It's generally later in the day. But it can be whenever, whatever works for people. Some people are morning people, some people are night people. So there are no formulas. I don't think so. You have to make up your own routine and solution. All right, I'll pause and thank you. It's always fun to spend time with ASCENT people and ASCENT women. Happy to be here and have a great day.
Thank you very much.